Welcome to Eliminating Caregiver Chaos, the podcast where we stop pretending caregiving is just about tasks and start dealing with the real weight that you're carrying, the emotional one. I'm DJ Castilleja, and I help family caregivers stop drowning in guilt, resentment, and burnout by teaching them how to actually process their emotions instead of just pushing them down and hoping for the best. Now, before we dive in, I want you to know this podcast is designed specifically for you, the caregiver on the go. Whether you're driving to yet another doctor's appointment, folding laundry, prepping meals, or stealing a few minutes in your car before you walk back into the chaos, I've got you. You don't need to sit down with a notebook or be in the perfect headspace. Just listen. Let this sink in while you're doing what you need to do. Last episode, we talked about what society gets wrong about caregiver burnout, and why the standard self-care advice, while well-meaning, almost always misses the point. Today, we're finally going to get to the part you've been waiting for. Today, we start talking about what actually works, what actually empties the cup, and I'm going to give you a practical tool you can start using this week, one that is far simpler than you might expect. So let's dive in. Let's do a quick recap of where we've been, because everything we've covered so far has been leading to this moment. Your emotional capacity is like a cup you carry everywhere, drop by drop, emotion by emotion. It fills up. The grief, the guilt, the fear, the resentment, the loneliness, the exhaustion, all of it pouring in day after day with nowhere to go. And when that cup reaches its limit, it doesn't just stop. It overflows. And that overflow is what we call caregiver burnout. We talked about how the standard advice, like bubble baths, the gym, the journaling, the vacations, can mop up what's spilled, but mopping is not the same as emptying. And unless you actually learn how to empty the cup, to release and process what's building up inside, it just fills right back up again every single time. So today the question is this: how do you actually empty the cup? And here is the answer. And I want you to stay with me on this because it might sound too simple at first. The key to healing caregiver burnout is not doing less. It's feeling more. I'll say that again because I need it to land. The key to healing caregiver burnout is not doing less. It is feeling more. Every caregiver carries what I call an invisible collection of emotions. Grief for the life that is changing, both yours and your loved ones. You're carrying sadness for what has already been lost along the way. Aloneness, that deep ache of feeling unseen and misunderstood even when you are surrounded by a room full of people. Anger at how unfair it all feels sometimes. Anxiety and worry about what is happening right now. And fear of what is coming next, or of losing that person you love. These emotions are real. They live inside you whether you acknowledge them or not. And when they stay bottled up, when they have no outlet, no place to go, they take up more and more space in your cup until there is no room left to breathe, rest, or feel joy. Here is something I want you to really sit with. The exhaustion you feel is not just from doing too much. It is from holding too much inside. Those are two very different problems, and they require two very different solutions. Doing too much does require rest. Holding too much inside requires release. And release, real emotional release, is what empties the cup. When you release what has been building up, your body and your mind begin to recover naturally. The burnout symptoms, the fatigue, the irritability, the numbness, the sense of being completely depleted starts to ease, not because your circumstances have changed, but because the pressure inside begins to lift. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, okay, but what does this actually mean? How do I do that? Is this where you tell me to cry it out or talk to a therapist? And the answer is we are going to cover many different ways to process specific emotions in future classes. There are tools for grief, anger, tools for guilt, and for loneliness. We are going to get into all of it, but today I want to give you the foundational practice, the starting point, the one thing you can do this week. No matter how busy you are, no matter how overwhelmed you feel, no matter how long it has been since you let yourself actually feel anything. I call it the 10-minute emotional release, and here's how it works. Step one, set a 10-minute timer. That's it, 10 minutes. Not an hour, not a whole therapy session, not a weekend retreat, 10 minutes. You can do 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes somewhere in your day, in your car before you walk inside, during a lunch break, after your loved one goes to sleep, 10 minutes. Step two, allow yourself to name and feel one emotion, just one, not all of them, not your entire emotional history. Pick one thing that is sitting heavy in your cup right now. Maybe it's the frustration you felt this morning. Maybe it's the grief that has been quietly sitting there for months. Maybe it's the anger toward a sibling who isn't helping. Maybe it's the fear of what comes next. Name it. Say it out loud and write it down. I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel scared. I feel exhausted. And I don't know how much more I can take. And then, and this is the important part, let yourself actually feel it. Don't analyze it. Don't try to convince your way out of it. Don't try to solve it. Don't logic your way through it. Don't ask yourself if you're allowed to feel or whether it's justified. Just feel it. Let it be there. Let it exist without trying to push it back down. Step three, when the timer goes off, stop. This is just as important as the feeling part. When the 10 minutes are up, you stop. You do not fall into an emotional spiral. You do not spend the rest of your day drowning in it. The timer is your structure. It keeps this safe and contained. 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out, that's the practice. And notice how intentional this is. You're giving yourself time to feel what you're feeling, for your emotions, to empty your cup. It's very intentional. This is an intentional emotional release. Step four, do some type of movement. When the timer goes off, get up and move your body. Walk around the block. Do 10 jumping jacks. Stretch. Dance in your kitchen for 2 minutes. It doesn't matter what kind of movement, just move. I'm going to explain exactly why this matters in our next session because the science behind it is actually pretty fascinating and important. But for now, just trust me on this one. Movement after emotional release is a critical part of completing the cycle. So don't skip it. Now, I want to address something I know some of you are already thinking because I hear it all the time. DJ, that just sounds too simple. 10 minutes? That's going to fix my burnout? I've been carrying this for years. I hear you, and I understand why it feels that way. But here is what I need you to understand about this practice. First, it's not too simple. It's appropriately sized. Most caregivers have spent their entire lives being taught not to feel their emotions. Remember the emotional hand-me-downs we talked about early in our sessions together? Keep it together. Stay strong. Don't fall apart. You inherited years of emotional suppression. You cannot undo that with a 2-hour emotional processing marathon on your first try. What you need is a small, safe, manageable dose. 10 minutes is not too small. 10 minutes is exactly right for someone who has never been taught how to do this. Remember, we were never taught about emotions. And so we call these small 10-minute segments dosing. It's like getting a dose of emotions. At first, it may feel awkward, but as we do it over time and we practice, we'll get better at it. Think of it like physical training. If someone has never run a day in their life and they want to get fit, you do not hand them a marathon on day one. You start with a walk around the block. You build the muscle slowly. You create the habit, and over time, the capacity grows. Emotional processing is exactly the same. You are building a new skill, a new muscle, And like any muscle, it grows stronger through consistent, repeated practice, not through one massive effort. Second, this is not a one and done process. This is a practice. That word matters. A practice is something you return to, something you build over time, something that becomes part of the rhythm of your daily life. You are not going to do this once and then feel completely healed. But if you do this consistently, if you show up for 10 minutes a day and let yourself feel one thing honestly, over time the cup starts to empty. Over time the pressure starts to lift. Over time the burnout symptoms start to ease. Not all at once, but steadily, sustainable, for real. And this is a practice. You're not competing against anyone else. And each time we do it, we're trying to get better and better. And here's something else I want to say about simplicity. The most powerful emotional tools are almost always the simplest, because simple is what actually gets done. Complicated programs with 17 steps get abandoned after 3 days. 10 minutes with a timer, that is something you can actually do today, tomorrow, and the day after that. So here is your action step for this week. Just one thing. Once a day, set a 10-minute timer. Name one emotion that is sitting in your cup. Let yourself feel it without analyzing or solving it. And when the timer goes off, move your body for a few minutes. That's it. That's the whole assignment. And by the way, when we say feel the emotion, if you're sad, cry. Crying is the proper response to sadness. If you're angry, hit a pillow or go to a closet or in your car to scream. Get it out. Feel the emotion. Express it. And if you do this practice and you think, that was nothing, that was too easy, I want you to come back and tell me that, because most caregivers who actually try it discover it is harder than it sounds. Because real feeling without pushing it down or explaining it away is something most of us were never taught how to do. And the first time you give yourself permission to actually feel something that you've been carrying for years, even if it's just 10 minutes, it matters more than you know. Burnout does not mean you are broken. It means your cup is full. And healing begins the moment you finally let some of it out. One more thing about naming your emotions. You have to name what you feel. You can't just go into this exercise frustrated. Frustration occurs when you have so many emotions present. Let's say anxiety and guilt and sadness and anger, yet you don't name them. It's just a pile of emotions caught together in this cup, and you never call it out for what it actually is. This is why you take one, just one, name it for what it is, name the event that's causing you to be sad, whether it's losing your loved one slowly over time, maybe you're grieving what used to be. Name it and feel that one emotion. That way you're just not dealing with an emotional frustration ball. It's like a box full of tangled cords that everyone has in the closet of their house. Tangled cords all together. These are emotions. And our role right here is to pick one cord out, and that is the emotion we're going to focus on for today. Here's what I want you to hold on from today. The solution to burnout is not doing less, it is feeling more. And you just learned the first practical tool for doing exactly that. Try the 10-minute practice this week, just once. See what comes up, and then do it again the next day. If you want support as you do this work, if you want a structured, guided way to walk through the emotional processing tools we talk about in this podcast, I want to invite you to visit us at eliminatingcaregiverchaos.com. Everything we cover here, we go deeper on inside our membership with real support, real community, and real tools that go far beyond surface level fixes. The link is in the show notes. And if today's episode helped you, please hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another caregiver who needs to hear this. You would be amazed how many people are walking around full to the brim, just waiting for someone to show them how to let a little out. Next session, I promise you, I'll explain why movement matters after emotional release. the science behind it that is going to surprise you and completely change the way you think about your body and your emotions. And you are not going to want to miss this. Until then, the chaos doesn't have to be permanent. We're eliminating it together. Take care of yourself out there, and I'll talk to you next time.